So good morning everyone and welcome to the Long-Term Health Peer Support Group, and today we are joined by the Sleep Charity. So over to you, Vicky.
Hi, morning everybody. I'm just going to bring my presentation up so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so there we go. So yeah, thanks for inviting me. It's great to be here. I'm just going to give you a bit of a background about what we do, and then some information about sleep really, and some practical strategies that people might want to sort of share and try. If anybody wants to ask anything, just like drop it in the chat box and I'm quite happy to take questions. So just to put it in context, who are we? Well, the Sleep Charity is an organisation that I set up in 2012 actually, and I set it up because I never used to get any sleep, and I'd not realised how little support there is out there when you've got a sleep difficulty. And it was incredibly hard because, like, we know sleep deprivation's got so many consequences. And the reason I didn't sleep is because I became a mum and I expected not to sleep for a little while, but I didn't sleep for about 6 years and it was really, really difficult. So we're based in Doncaster and we work across the whole country now. So we are a national charity. And we provide support in Doncaster for families of children who've got sleep issues. So it's funded by the CCG and parents just self-refer to us. We also provide information about sleep. So we've been through a bit of an expansion recently and we are now working on, well, so this is new to us, but from 7th of December there's going to be lots of adult sleep information up on our website as well, so hopefully that's going to really help people. We also do research into sleep and we campaign as well. So we're in Westminster back in March, and what we campaign about is for people to get support when they've got sleep problems, because quite often it's the thing that's left unsupported, and it can have massive consequences in all areas. So we're trying to sort of raise the profile of that. And in July, we acquired the Sleep Council. They were a not-for-profit information body, and we've brought them under our sort of charity so that we can have a bigger reach and we can reach to more people. So what we're going to look at is importance of sleep, how we go about identifying sleep issues, and some practicalities as well. So if there's anything that I say as we go through that you want me to go back over, just give me a shout. So what we do with our work is we try to empower people with knowledge about sleep so that they can understand, you know, why sleep issues might be happening, because that's the bit that I didn't know when I was having them. So what I did is I did all the bedtime routine stuff and a milky drink and a bath, and it didn't work. And once I understood about sleep, I could then understand why I was having some of the problems and why I needed to put some of the strategies in place. So as we can see, sleep is vitally important, you know, for our well-being, and nobody really knows why we do it, but we do need to do it. And we need it to recuperate for our physical and mental functioning. Sometimes we sleep deprive ourselves, so we'll put off, you know, going to bed, and we do it with kids as well. So we'll promise them a treat. You can stay up late tonight if you're good and things like that, when actually we need sleep to be at our best. So we need to prioritize it. And basically what happens is if you've had a good night's sleep, you wake up in the morning, and as you go throughout the day, you build this tiredness. And I always think about it like a battery. So if you've had a good night's sleep, you're topped up, and then as you go through the day, your battery starts to deplete a bit. If you have a nap, that can boost your battery, and that can be good. But if you nap too late in the day, it might boost it a bit too much, and then your battery is not depleted enough by the time you get to bed at night time. So what we're trying to do is work with this sleep drive that builds so that we go to bed at the right time for us, because if you go to bed and your battery is not depleted enough, you're not going to go to sleep. And what we've got as well is what we call circadian rhythm. So this is like our natural body clock that we've all got inside us. And it means that we actually function better in the daytime, most people anyway, and that we need to sleep at night. So like shift workers can find it really difficult to be up in the night working and then having to switch back to daytime routines, because with your circadian rhythm, lots of different things happen, like it changes your temperature. So your temperature drops at night time, which helps you to go to sleep. It regulates like your appetite, things like that. And some of us have got circadian rhythms where we're more night owls. So if you don't have to get up in the morning, you might prefer to go to bed like early hours and then sleep in. And other people are more larks, so they prefer to go to bed a bit later, but get up bright and early. And to some extent, that's in our genetics, in our genes, but we can do little tricks to help us to sort of get our rhythms in line if we need to. And part of that's about routine. So we talk a lot about bedtime routine for children, but it's also important for adults, because if you go to bed at roughly the same time, it helps to strengthen this body clock. And if you wake up at roughly the same time, again, it helps to strengthen your body clock and then to feed into that old sleep drive. We also produce something called melatonin at night time. So melatonin is what we produce when it's dark. So I don't know if anybody's saying me, but I'm dreadful in winter, if I just feeling like it's time for bed at 7 o'clock and then you realize, it's not time at all. And you produce that hormone that makes you feel sleepy. So there's ways that we can help to produce it naturally as well, and help to suppress it. So I use a light box in winter time because daylight helps you to wake up and to suppress that sleep hormone. Is everybody okay so far? Any questions? Is it making sense? All okay, good.
Okay.
Excellent. So light and dark are really strong cues in telling our bodies about waking up and going to sleep, which is dead confusing when it's like this, and it's like miserable and dark all day. And light, often it's called a sleep robber because it does suppress that melatonin and wake us up. So you'll probably have seen lots about screen activity and sleep, and looking at a screen that gives out light, and that can trick your body into thinking it's daytime and make it more difficult to fall asleep. Having said that, some people are just great sleepers and can have a black coffee, they can have the tablet on, they can put them down and go to sleep and it's not a problem. But for other people, it may create difficulties. Now, this is another bit that I got no clue about until I got into sort of exploring sleep and trying to work out what was going on. So there's lots of different stages of sleep, and these are like the main ones. So you've got like REM sleep, which is the dreamy sleep. So that's when you dream, which is the blue bits at the top here. So that's really light sleep. And you need to have enough REM sleep, because that helps with things like memory. You sort of consolidate learning when you're in that phase. So anything that you've sort of processed during the day will be sort of replayed. And it's also good in terms of stuff like processing emotions. So, if you've like fallen out with somebody and you think, I'm going to sleep on it, and actually the next day things seem a bit clearer, all this stuff's going on while we're in that REM sleep. And that's the bit where we shouldn't be able to move, because otherwise we might get up and be roaming about. But strange things happen with sleep, and there are points where some people do get up and have a good sleep walk around as well. And what we've got down here is we've got non-REM sleep. So that's 3 different stages. So you get into bed awake at night and you slowly start to nod off, and you might do the old jerking thing, which is like completely normal. And you're going to this stage 1 of sleep here, which is like a really light sleep. So that's the sleep where you're just nodding off and you might hear a car pull up outside and you like wake up because it's disturbed you. Or it might be your eating clicks off, or just a little noise and you're just, just nodding off then. So that's that real light sleep. And then we're going to stage 2. So that's a little bit deeper. And that's where your body's starting to prepare for deep sleep. So that's when your heart rate's slowing down. Your blood pressure's falling. And then here at the start of the night in stage 3, you get really deep sleep. And that's where repair happens to your body. So like tissue repair happens, like the blood circulates. So athletes are starting to take on sleep coaches now. Like a number of football clubs have got them because they know that if they sleep better, the bodies can repair better, and also they have faster reaction times. And there's hormones released down here too. So hormones that regulate appetite. So there is a link between sleep deprivation and obesity. And hormones for growth in children as well are released down here. So what you can see is at the start of the night, that's when you have like your deep sleep. And then after sort of first 3 hours or whatever, you're into sort of lighter sleep. And we sleep in cycles. So we don't just like go out sort of cold for 7-8 hours, whatever. We're up and down these cycles all night. And what we have are points of partial awakening. So you might have like 2.5 hours sleep at the start of the night, and then you partially awaken. And you might not even remember it. You might just roll over and then go back to sleep. But some of these partial awakenings you will remember, and those will be the like awakenings where you check the clock or whatever, or it might be you kind of partially awake and you think, oh, I need toilet, can I last till the morning? So those are your partial awakenings. But sometimes it can be hard to go back to sleep after those as well. So that's when we get, especially if it's sort of this kind of time, you know, near your waking up time. So all that cycling in and out is completely normal and what we all do. So sleep cycles last about an hour and a half, and to feel well rested, you've got to experience all of those different stages of sleep. Otherwise, you know, you can still feel tired during the daytime. Is that all okay? Make sense? Yeah, great. All right. So that's the sciencey bit behind it. And we know like impact of sleep deprivation is massive in terms of things like, you know, safety, accidents. We've had families who've been really sleep deprived. They've had to resign from work because they've not felt safe. There's massive links to mental health and sleep deprivation. So we know that like anxiety makes it harder to fall asleep, but we also know that sleep deprivation can fuel anxiety. So that's like a really complicated relationship. And, you know, huge impacts as well in terms of things like social isolation, because when you're up in the night, it feels like the loneliest place in the world. So lots of things around that. And what we try to share is some real practical things that people can do, and then like pin it back to science around the sleep. And what I need to say is sometimes sleep problems do need investigation. So, you know, there can be medical sleep disorders. So we will sort of listen out for signs of things like sleep apnea. So that's where people have sleep disordered breathing. Usually characterised by snoring, and they do the snorting business where they wake themselves up. And my husband's actually diagnosed with that, and it took quite a lot of effort to get him diagnosed because it's often missed. So we kind of listen out for those things, and there are points where we do need to refer people for further investigations as well. So the stuff that we look at is giving advice so that people can sort of do first lines of intervention to try to stop things getting worse and to try to improve things. First thing that we've got to do is when people have got sleep issues is see if we can try and work out what might be causing them. And there can be so many different things. It's like very rarely one thing. There can be like 5, 6, 7 things, and it can range from things like diet and what they're eating in the daytime. It can range to things like noise sensitivity at night time, discomfort during the night. It could be about the bedroom environment, which might be too stimulating. Activities they might be doing before bed that might be really stimulating activities, like if you're doing exercise just before bed, that can make it harder to fall asleep, for example. So we'll do like real assessments, like what might be causing it and what can we do then to help to make it better. And we know that exercise during the day is great for us. So we'll look at timing of exercise. And like I said, it can raise things like body temperature at night time, and it can also release feel-good hormones that can make it harder to nod off if you do it too close to bedtime. And there's that need for that regular sort of sleep pattern too. So, you know, going to bed at roughly the same time, waking up at roughly the same time, so that you do build that sleep drive during the day. We often think about routines and bedtime routines as being for children, but they can help us all. I think one of the problems that we do have with sleep is if you've got a sleep issue, you can start to overthink it, and then sleep becomes a stress. So if you ask somebody who's got a sleep issue what they do to help get to sleep, they've usually got this massive list, like they try a bath, they have chamomile tea, they've got this special pillow thing, and it becomes a big thing. If you ask somebody who sleeps well, what do you do to get to sleep? They go, well, I get in bed. And that is as simple as that. And the problem we've got with sleep is you can't control it. So if I said to you, you know, I need you to be asleep by 10 o'clock tonight and I'll give you £1 million, you can't control it. And so you try to get to sleep, but actually you've no control over it. So what we look at is a really good wind down routine and planning it in the hour before bedtime. And what we will think about in that routine is, what do people find relaxing? Turning screens off, so getting rid of TV. People say, well, I find that relaxing, but actually we know that that sort of activity is really stimulating in your brain. So even if you think you're relaxing watching it, it's probably stimulating your mind. And again, there's the thing about the melatonin. And if you're looking at a screen, that might be suppressing melatonin and stopping you feeling as sleepy as you ought to. So great things to do in the hour before bed are to dim the lights so that you can get that melatonin produced as naturally as you can. And then plan to do wind down things, and anything to do with like hand-eye coordinates tend to relax people. So like, I think, were you talking about knitting earlier, Denise?
Yeah.
Did you mention knitting? Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Anything like that is really helpful. So people do like crafty type stuff, jigsaws, those sorts of activities. Reading is another great one. And it's also thinking about temperature. So I've said about body temperature, and if you get in a bath at night time, that can increase your body temperature. So if you do it sort of at the start of the routine, then what happens is your body temperature starts to drop, and you end up with a decrease in body temperature by the time you get into bed, which is really helpful for sleep. And thinking about your bedroom as well, so making sure it's cool. So we sleep better in cooler environments. Around about 18 degrees is ideal. So getting window open, getting that temperature down. Otherwise, it can be tricky to sleep. Thinking about what we eat as well. So like sugary stuff can make it difficult to nod off. Obviously caffeine. And quite often people have things like hot chocolate and a biscuit, which is a bit of caffeine, a bit of sugar, and not ideal at all. But it's sort of promoted as being, oh, that's a great thing to have at night time, and not necessarily so. And thinking about bedroom and just having like a really nice, relaxing environment, because quite often when we do our bedrooms, we think about what looks nice, but not actually what's helpful for sleep. And what we're wanting is a really nice, relaxing environment that helps us to wind down when we get in there. So avoiding doing things like, you know, checking emails in bed, you know, anything that's associated with being a bit stressful. So avoiding that at all in bedroom, because what we want is bedroom to be associated with calm and relaxation. And then like in daytime, if you can get that natural exposure to light, that's really helpful. So I know it's hard at the minute, but like half hour outside or sitting by a window, or like I said, I have a light box that I use as well to just to help to suppress that melatonin and make you feel more wide awake. I think I've talked about caffeine, alcohol, that's another one. So people often think that they have a drink and it helps them to sleep, and it might help them to feel relaxed at the start of the night, and to nod off more easily. But alcohol can actually damage the architecture of sleep, so you might not get like the full restorative sleep that you would get if you'd not had a drink. So it may be helpful to nod off, but it won't give you the best quality sleep. Things like anxiety stuff, writing down worries, getting anything out of your mind. You can't stop thoughts coming into your mind, but actually maybe sometimes just writing them down might be helpful. And we are trained in something called ACT, which is like a form of mindfulness. And one of the things I liked about the training was that they talked about thoughts being like junk mail coming into your email account. You can't stop them coming in, and they're going to come in at night time when you're trying to go to sleep, but you don't have to read all your junk mail. You just know it's there. And it's a bit like that with these thoughts. Like, I know they're coming in, but I don't have to do anything with them right now. So it's just different ways of sort of thinking about those thoughts. And worst thing when you're laid in bed at night time, it's that clock watching and that anxiety, or you're thinking, I'm never going to get to sleep. And sometimes it's challenging those thoughts as well. How accurate is that? You know, is it really true that I'm never going to get to sleep? I will get to sleep eventually. Sometimes it can be helpful to just turn clock around so that you're not focusing on it. And actually, if you've not fallen asleep after 20 minutes getting up, and what is really good is to have like an area where you go to. It might be a chair, where you've got a book that is there, a blanket, and just take yourself to that area, stay there doing whatever with your book, your knitting, whatever it might be. Wait until you feel tired, then go and train again. But actually getting out of bed can be helpful, which people are often surprised at, but there's nothing worse than being laid in bed trying to fall asleep. So that's a whistle stop tour, and I'm really happy to answer any questions that you might have got, or any comments or anything that you want to say.
How do I book in for an assessment?
So we're not doing adult assessments at the moment. This is all like part of stuff that we want to develop, you know, moving forwards. What we're looking at the moment is like sharing the information, because it's really new as doing the adult stuff. We're kind of building up into that direction. So we've only got 6 staff, and we cover the whole country. So you can imagine what demand's like. It's absolutely massive. So what we wanted to do initially is to get all the information out there so people can sort of learn about it and get some like downloadable stuff so that we can cover as much as we can initially. But we're certainly thinking about that, definitely, because there's a real need for adult like sleep support. It's really missed.
Yeah, I never sleep properly, and it's so debilitating. Like, people don't realise how it impacts your whole day, and it's like a vicious circle, never stops if you're not getting good sleep.
Yeah, it completely is. I mean, I could empathise, because that's exactly how I was, and I'd not valued my sleep until I didn't have it in my life. And then when I didn't have it, I became all consumed by it. It's all I thought about. You know, I just want to go to sleep. And I also got to the point where I was like overthinking it all. And then even when I could sleep, I couldn't sleep. And it just became like a massive stress in my life. So yeah, I completely appreciate what you're saying, and it is so debilitating when you can't get that sleep. Definitely, yeah.
I actually believe my partner's got sleep apnea, but I can't get him to the doctors. And he just says, it's me with a problem. I need to sleep. I went, I can't sleep because of you.
Is that what's affecting your sleep then as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's
I've
scary when they start choking, and it's quite frightening listening to that.
Yeah, it is, and I've had exactly these same conversations you've had, and there's a really good charity called Hope to Sleep. Let me put it in the chat box for you, and it's run by a friend of mine. She's called Kath Hope, and she's got sleep apnea, and she set it up to try to get information specifically about sleep apnea out there. And what happened was I actually hired a kit off her to test him at home, and he was having over 300 apneas during the night.
Wow.
Which is incredibly high. And for some of them, it was stopping breathing for like a minute and a half, which, you know, is such a long time. And that can have all sorts of negative health consequences, you know, in the long term as well, if it's not treated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
what I'd read. It's quite common as well. It's surprising how many people have actually got sleep apnea.
yeah, and it does get missed. So all I can say is it's really difficult because I was there too, and it took me a long time, to persuade him to look at it. But now that there's treatment in place, it's so much better for both of us. And also, he was tired in daytime as well. That's another sign of sleep apnea, that they're not getting the sleep that they need because they're constantly sort of being disrupted, coming up and down those cycles. So definitely have a look at that website, and see if there's information on there that might be helpful too. Because you're not going to get your sleep if that's disturbing you. Because when you go into that light sleep, particularly at second half of the night, that's when you'll be most disturbed. When you're in that deep sleep at the beginning, it's harder to wake somebody, but once you go into those lighter stages, you can be woken really easily by bed partners and stuff that they're doing.
Yeah. Silicone earplugs are my saviour.
Yeah.
I buy them in the bucket load from Home Bargains. Because I'm a light sleeper, and any slight noise wakes me up. So they are really good at blocking out lots of noise.
That's it, and it's looking at as well about what might be waking us up, and some people do need like that complete silence, but other people need a bit of noise coming in. So some people use white noise, and they find that really helpful to get a better night's sleep. So the difficulty we've got is everyone's got like different sleep needs, and then we end up sharing our sleeping space with a partner who's got completely different sleep needs to us and sleep associations, and we disrupt each other a lot of the time. It can be really tricky.
Yeah.
Okay.
I found it really, really interesting, all that. There's some things that obviously you've said, I didn't even know that existed, like people being asleep and not breathing for a minute and a half. It's like, oh my gosh, like how does nobody know about? Well, I'm saying nobody, I'm putting me into the entire nation. But there's some things that like you wouldn't even know about. Obviously, you've set up the charity, you've done research into it, and that's quite scary, isn't it, to think that there's actually disorders like that out there that people are living with, and no one knows about it because they're asleep. So
exactly, yeah. I think as well, one of the reasons we campaign is because we weren't taught about sleep in school. I don't know about you, but we weren't taught that in school. Whereas we were taught about importance of diet, importance of exercise, but not importance of sleep or what happens when we go to sleep. And when I think about curriculum, I used to be a teacher, and some of the stuff that's taught on there, sleep needs to be on there because it's so important. And if we can understand it, we can then get good sleep stuff in place, right from the very start. And hopefully a lot of sleep issues won't actually happen because we'll know what to do about it in time. So that's a big part of campaign, and also to get professionals trained in sleep. So a lot of healthcare professionals have not had any sleep training. So they're passing on information, and they might be having to resort to Google, and there's a lot of rubbish out there about sleep as well. And it needs to be proper information that's provided, which is where, that's why I wanted to expand into adults side of things, to make sure that we were able to give that.
Yeah, definitely, because like I now these days I'm not so bad, but I used to be terrible at sleeping. I used to sleepwalk. I just used to be laid awake at night. Like I used to be absolutely terrible. And I tried all different things like having noises on and stuff like that, and it kind of worked. And then obviously going to the doctors and then giving you sleeping tablets, and then like you just thought, oh my god, this is like spiraling. And it's all like you said, it's all just knowing what your sleeping pattern is. And the thing that helped me the most was having that regular bedtime. In all honesty, like I tried all the different things, like you said, like having noise on. I used to have like an ocean sound on, and it were actually just having that right, this is the time I'm going to bed and stuff. So it's been really interesting to hear about the, like you said, the campaign and stuff like that, because I agree, like it's something that you in school you're not taught about and you wouldn't think about. You just get, because when you're growing up you just get told, right, it's bedtime by your parents, and then you're just sent to bed and force yourself to sleep, don't you?
Yeah.
So really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I could talk about sleep all day, because I just find it fascinating, and there's so much that we still don't know or understand about it. So there's lots of research still going on, and we work with a lot of universities around that. And I do think we're getting a little bit better at sleep, you know, and understanding it's important. But I think as well as a nation, we're very much like, it's fine to be sleep deprived and sleeps for the week, and almost like glorifying it, you know. When you see politicians who are sort of going, oh, I only have 4 hours sleep a night, it's like almost a badge of honor. Actually, no, it's not. You know, it's really, really important. And without it, you know, we can't be best versions of ourselves. And we need to put it right up there, you know, with nutrition, exercise, it's got to be there.
Yeah, definitely. And funnily enough, my colleague the other week was saying that Netflix, their biggest competitor is sleep. And you think that's actually quite scary to think that a natural thing is a big company's competition, isn't it? So you think, gosh, like it's, yeah.
Yeah, they came out with that, didn't they? Yeah, I saw that. And you're like, wow, what a shock that. But you can see why, you know, you get binge watching, don't you? And then you switch off after a bit.
Well, my friend's just put that this morning on Facebook. With this lockdown, she's been up till 2 a.m. in the morning, binge watching things on Netflix.
Oh my gosh.
And some people like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't do that. I think I'd be nodding.
Yeah, I think during lockdown as well, people's sleep patterns have changed quite a lot, and we've seen that with children. You know, when they had to go back to school in September, a lot of them have like gone like that with the sleep. You know, falling asleep much later, but getting up later, and we have to like try and move it back. And it is that routine thing that's so important for us. And also, obviously, people have been more anxious of late, and that impacts on sleep as well. And we've all been doing this a lot more with screens, you know, because we've had to. So we're certainly seeing a lot more sleep issues since March, most definitely. And I mean, statistically, 40% of people have got a sleep issue. So there's a lot of people out there anyway with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was told when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, sleep issues is a massive part of that. And it's just frustrating because there's nothing really that you can do to change that. You can't, there's no cure for fibro. So can you actually cure your sleep and change your sleep if you've got fibro?
You can still put in like the good practice stuff that we've talked about and see, you know, what the differences are. So that's where I'd kind of be starting, but then acknowledging that this is going on as well. So it might not be perfect, but I think we can certainly sort of see some improvements.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. Are there any more questions that you want to ask Vicky?
No.
Well, thank you so much, Vicky. It's been really interesting, and I've personally learned a lot. So thank you so much for that. So basically, just for everybody on the call today and everyone who watches this back, the next peer group will be on the 16th, where we will be joined by a lady in Conisborough who works on meditation. So all lovely linked.
Oh, yeah. That sounds nice.
You know, come along. Everyone's welcome.
Yeah.
So she's going to be delivering some meditation. We've had similar things before, but it's nice range, isn't it? Because everybody delivers differently. However, there will not be one on the 30th of December, because obviously it's between Christmas and New Year. I call it no man's land week, to be
Yeah.
honest, between Christmas and New Year. But we'll be returning on the 13th of January. Just need to confirm who's going to be delivering a session. But overall, thank you so much for joining today, Vicky, and thank you everyone for coming along. It's been fantastic.
No problem. See you soon. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.